Today, Carl Brown's here. We've got a bit of a threat to the newspaper review because a big threat to the press itself. Everyone's on strike, it appears.
They're on strike, aren't they, the printers? That means that I'm afraid I only have one newspaper. I'll leave it for the readers and the watchers, the viewers to decide in a second. But for the moment, yes, Figaro actually came out against them, the strikes. They said, listen, this is an absolute absurdity. They basically lashed out on the front pages to say that this is a retrograde act, anachronistic. They used every adjective in the book to basically decry the printers for putting themselves really in jeopardy, because they're saying, listen, by diverting readers elsewhere in search of the news to their iPhones, their iPads, their tablets and what have you, they're kind of speeding up that process by which people are seeking the news online and elsewhere, and they're going to undermine the very industry on which the printers themselves depend.
Okay, interesting point of view, isn't it? So, of course, Carl has been on his computer, he's got out his tablet, and he has found us a little bit of news from the newspapers. A lot of them are talking about the 50th anniversary of Algerian independence today.
That's right, Le Monde in particular. And I'm not sure if this is because Le Monde comes out late the night before, and perhaps we just managed to get it here. But Le Monde is talking about the celebrations today of the 50th anniversary of Algerian independence, July 5th, 1962. And Le Monde is talking about the events happening today in the capital, Alger, as well as throughout the country of Algeria. 10,000 young people, for example, involved in a production retracing the steps that led to independence. They're also looking at some of the documentaries, conferences. The whole country is abuzz with all kinds of things, really digging deep into the history of the whole affair. And what's also interesting, though, is that there are about 9 heads of state or representatives of different countries being invited, included in that list are Russia, South Africa, but France is not included in that list at all. And that's because relations have been kind of cool over the years, in spite of Sarkozy's best efforts. Chirac kind of led to a rapprochement. But what happened since then is the Algerian government has asked France repeatedly to apologize for the colonial experience, for the whole rigmarole that really led to the 8-year war. And so what's happened since then is that it's basically fallen on deaf ears, and not only Sarkozy but now François Hollande have yet to respond to that plea, and as a result, well, we have a basic loggerheads between the two countries.
Okay. Financial matters also back in the newspapers.
Les Echos is talking about Eurozone being in an even worse position than we had thought. Hard to imagine that was possible, but the European Central Bank is being asked to lower interest rates. It's possible it just will do that. And Le Parisien is also talking about a real bill of rigor to be implemented in the French budget, and that's because of the 7 billion euro budget shortfall that we've been talking about here for a few days. And the whole problem, of course, is that the government is perhaps going to be squeezed into a position where it's going to have to admit that it's going to raise taxes, something that it didn't want to do. But of course, we've seen the announcement yesterday. Now it's a matter of where those taxes will fall. Will it just be on the big companies and the rich people, or will it start to squeeze the middle class as well?
Now, you've also pulled out this story about France Telecom, haven't you?
Yes. Now, France Telecom, if viewers recall that back in 2008 and 9, there were a number of suicides at the company, and that was around the same period that there were 20,000 layoffs at the company. And what's happened is there's since been an investigation into the CEO, pictured there, as to whether he contributed to a stressful environment that pushed people to the edge. And so there's an investigation right now to see whether he's guilty of what they say in French. I'll give you a literal translation of, it's basically moral harassment. It's the equivalent of, as I say, creating an environment that makes it very emotionally difficult for the employees. So he's going to be investigated in the coming weeks, and we're going to see whether indeed that wave of suicides that did happen over those years, 2008, 2009, was in any way attributable to the environment that they created at the top.
Very, very briefly, we're all interested in science all of a sudden.
Oh, I was hoping we didn't have time for this, actually. This is Libération. They're as excited as anyone about the Higgs boson, the discovery of what it is that gives matter its mass. And the scientists near CERN in Geneva, they managed to drill even below the level of the atom to the nucleus, beyond the protons and neutrons, beyond the quarks. You know, I know all about this stuff because I've been reading about it for several seconds now. And they found that they've discovered what it is that could constitute this new particle. Excellent. And beyond that, I have no idea.
Excellent. Good stuff. We sort of understood it, really, didn't we? All right, Carl, thanks very much. Carl with the French newspapers there. Coming up after the break, we've got a special report in focus for you, in fact, as France 24 marks 50 years of Algerian independence. 150,000 Algerians, 18,000 French troops died in that struggle. We report on those here in Paris who supported those back home after the break.